So you will close my account if I don't agree to pay higher interest rates? Okay. So this was back during the 2008 government mortgage crisis. Had great credit, a great job, and multiple credit cards I used to manage the different properties I owned. A personal card, gas cards, etc. So one day I get a letter from a credit card company that rhymes with Apple Pink saying that they unilaterally were raising my rates from 13.99% annually to 27% annually if I wanted to keep my card. Something many people during the crisis needed to do to survive. I had to agree to the new rate. Otherwise, they would close my account. I would not be able to make any more charges on the card. And I would have to continue making monthly payments at my current interest rate until the card was paid off. Of course, I had done nothing wrong credit-wise to deserve this treatment from my credit card company. Almost doubling of my interest rate. So I called their service line. After being on hold for over 2 hours, I finally got to speak to a CSR, and after not getting anywhere with her, I had to hold for another 30 minutes to talk to her supervisor. I was basically told, very rudely, that I could either accept the new rate or chose to close my account. Those were my only two options. Incensed, I said, fine, close it, and they did. What they didn't know was that a week prior I had transferred all the balances from my other cards, over $22,000, to their card without paying a transfer fee and at a promotional rate of 1.9% for 1 year. But because of the law at the time, they could only charge me at a rate of 1.9% until the loan was paid. Here's the malicious compliance part. So here I am 13 years later paying the absolute minimum payment I am required to make each month. Never missing a payment and never paying late. Otherwise, their default rate of 27% would kick in. Since the inflation rate during these years has been well over the 1.9% interest I pay. It's like free money. I paid off every other creditor I had with the money I saved and don't even use credit cards anymore, as I've been able to save enough to live on a cash-only basis. They've tried multiple times to get me reactivate the card or to transfer the balance to another super-duper account with lots of benefits for me, like paying a much higher interest rate. Without success. The only thing I lament is that all good things must come to an end, as my balance is now down to $1,000 or less. But at least it will last another couple of years. P.S. Young folks. I lucked out. I would have been up a creek otherwise. If you don't have credit card debt now, strive to not ever get one. Love this. It's nice to see the credit company get hit by their own contract. My mom had an amazing fixed rate card with them back in the day, and they told her to switch to a new card with a variable or close the account. She's never had an account with them since. Pre-GFC. Earning below the median wage. Banks send me letters saying, get a credit card with a $40,000 limit. Quote, why would I would something I would never be able to pay off? Post-GFC. Going for extended travel overseas. I think I better get a credit card for emergencies. Oh no. We couldn't possibly give you any more than $4,000 limit. That's just irresponsible to do more. Quote, $4K was fine. It was just for emergencies. If it makes you feel better. They weren't targeting you due to your balance. It was a move to reduce their liabilities due to the bailouts. I got the same letter, but I was paying the card off in full each month. They were huge jerks about it. My other cards just cut my limits, which was fine with me because they all had automatically raised them to stupidly high levels. This is probably the only time where paying less made sense. Love it. especially when they get to try to reactivate your card. Lol. P.S. Young folks. I lucked out. I would have been up a creek otherwise. If you don't have credit card debt now, strive to not ever get one. I've always heard that having a credit card is the better choice as long as you make the payments and don't end up paying any interests because it helps your credit score. B. Provides more protection against fraud, theft since you're technically spending the bank's money and it's their problem rather than yours if you get defrauded. I love how the balance is only $1,000, so you could easily pay it off. Instead, you get to slowly twist the knife a while longer. I bet no one at the company actually learned from this. Yeah. You just need to use debt to your advantage. The score system is a sham, but racking up points is easy. I don't understand what happened here. So they closed your account and locked you into the 1.9 rate for longer than the year promo? The easiest way to improve your credit score with a credit card is as follows. 1. Shop around for a credit card with the best rebates, like airline miles or cashback. I went with the Capital One Venture for the airline miles, as my wife flies home to the Philippines on occasion. 2. Once the card is secured, set up all of your regular monthly bills to be paid by the card. Rent, if possible, internet, cell phone, utilities, car insurance, etc. 3. Set an automatic payment every month to the credit card in the amount of your regular monthly bills. You have to pay the bills anyway, right? 4. Lock that card away somewhere secure and don't use it for anything else. 5. Check the card balance periodically, especially if your monthly bills fluctuate, and rake in the rewards. Good for you. I hope that every time you communicated with them you made sure they understood it would have been far more profitable if they hadn't tried to take advantage of you. P.S. Young folks. I lucked out. I would have been up a creek otherwise. If you don't have credit card debt now, strive to not ever get one. This. I was young. I'm still dumb. And climbing out of this hole is going to take the better part of my adult life. And I'm not making chump change, it just feels like it. Be smart. Avoid CCs like the plague. Yes! Exclamation mark. Fuck the banks. Since the inflation rate during these years has been well over the 1.9% interest. FYI. For many of the years between 2008 and now this hasn't been true. That's still very cheap interest though. I had a lot of CC debt when I was younger. Transferring balances to lower interest cards to stay ahead. Finally, I decided to get serious about getting out of debt. Not long after one of the cards did a massive interest rate increase. When I called to find out why, they said it was to help motivate customers to pay off debt. Scum. That balance did get moved to the top of my list and paid off first. Being debt-free is a huge worry. Off my mind, and I will never use credit again. P.S. Young folks. I lucked out. I would have been up a creek otherwise. If you don't have credit card debt now, strive to not ever get one. I remember my first credit card. $500 limit. And I got it to get the free CD. Oh, how I wish I was back to having just $500 in debt. Years later and the lucky break with the pandemic, I'm almost free and clear of my debts. After this intro, had great credit, a great job, and multiple credit cards I used to manage the different properties I owned. I thought you were well off. But then you describe how you were in debt. P.S. Young folks. I lucked out. I would have been up a creek otherwise. If you don't have credit card debt now, strive to not ever get one. Agreed. The world today has already conspired to screw over those just starting out. Having a bunch of credit cards just makes it easier to bury yourself. The following is stuff I wish I'd known when starting out. I just hope it helps someone out there. I'm aware that many people are just barely keeping their head above water. This isn't meant to criticize. There's been far too much of that already. Millennials and whatever we're calling those starting out now have gotten a raw deal. You've entered the world with finances set to survival mode. The people I've spoken to make it clear that most schools seem completely uninterested in giving any useful financial education. I'm no financial guru, but here is the Cliff Notes version of some things that helped me. Bank with a credit union if at all possible. They really are a lot better. The way they're structured makes them a lot less greedy. They are also much easier to deal with if an issue does pop up. Get credit card from them and set it up with autopay for some monthly bills. Lock the card in a drawer and try to forget you have it. Pay it off every month and keep the account going for a long time. It'll build credit, and over time it'll increase the average age of your accounts, which helps your credit rating. If the housing market ever regains its sanity, good credit will make a ton of difference when it comes to buying a home. If your employer has a 401k plan, put money into it. That money goes in pre-tax, so you don't have to pay federal income tax on it. If you put in 10%, it doesn't decrease your take-home pay by 10%, it's more like 7%. If your employer has a match, at least put in enough to take full advantage of that. It is literally free money. It feels like it takes forever, but once it gets past a certain point, it starts to grow noticeably. If you start in your 20s, you'll be so much better off come retirement. Do your best to save up a small emergency fund. Having a $1,000 set aside goes a long way to turning a stolen phone or busted washing machine into a minor annoyance. Last but not least, be careful of little luxuries. They're addictive. I'm not saying you can't enjoy yourself. Just prioritize where you spend your money. It is much easier to upgrade your standard of living than it is to downgrade. For example, if you're reading this on a cheap monitor, it probably looks fine. Once you get used to a giant super-duper deluxe monitor, it's hard to go back to the cheap one. This is true of everything. Food, clothes, cars, phones, housing, etc. If you're okay with your TV, don't go looking at TVs. Yours will start to look pretty lame. If you can manage it, drive your car until it is on the verge of falling apart. Leave room to enjoy life. But always try to buy quality when it matters. Often it's the boring stuff that really makes a difference. Really good footwear and a good mattress will improve your quality of life a lot more than you think. My wife swears that quality bras are life-changing. The best is rarely the cheapest. But expensive does not always mean quality. I'm no financial genius and I am far from having life figured out. So take all of this with a grain of salt. Even so, it's worked for at least one Gen X couple. I hope it helps someone out there. It's like free money. What? How? You're paying the bank interest and your payments. It's free money to them, not to you. Credit cards are not very popular in my country. Most people use debit. The bank my father was banking with tried to make a promotion to popularize credit cards, where you don't have to pay interests if you balance your credit card out on time. And you get 2% back on any purchase made with the card. My father was very anti-credit, but the bank went over and above to get him one. And in the end he agreed. He always had more than enough available funds on his debit card to balance out the credit. So he never had to pay interest rates. and the 2% return spared him a huge amounts of money annually. After the first year, the bank tried to get his contract changed for less favorable terms. But my father refused and they kept it for 2 more years with the same terms. And in the end, after 3 years, the contract ran out. And the bank requested to extend it. So he just cancelled it and went back to using debit card.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicuricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.